We all know Ilhan Omar. She's the Congresswoman representing the District of Somalia there in the great state of Minnesota. And I overstate the case, but it sounds sometimes like she represents a foreign country and has their interests at heart more than the interests of the United States citizens. A clip of her waxing poetic about how dangerous it is here in America, compared to her home country of Somalia. This clip has been making the rounds. Perhaps you've seen it on social media. Here, take a look.
I would say our country should be more fearful of white men across our country, because they are actually causing most of the deaths within this country. We should be profiling, monitoring, and creating policies to fight the radicalization of white men. I would say
nothing crazy about that. Ilhan Omar, ladies and gentlemen, ain't she a gem? So yeah, just like you, just like me, you probably saw that clip, and you probably even added a comment to it yourself as you posted it around on your social media profile, just like J.D. Vance did. He's the Vice President of the United States. He saw it and said, well, he said, this isn't just sick, it's actually genocidal language. What a disgrace this person is. Well said, Vice President Vance. But Ilhan Omar, she decided to reply. I do love it when these elected officials go back and forth on social media, don't you? She says, in this nearly 8-year-old clip, I shouldn't make fun of her voice because people will call me names. But there's something about when she said, some people did something. Just fingernails on the chalkboard, right? It's just like, you know how some people just do that? In this nearly 8-year-old clip. Now, first of all, by prefacing it with that, it's like, this was 8 years ago. Come on. You can't hold that against me, right? Right? In this nearly 8-year-old clip, I'm referring to by the way, did you notice the little bug on the TV? This is for Al Jazeera television she was talking to. In this nearly 8-year-old clip, I'm referring to the rise of white nationalism in an annual report issued by the Anti-Defamation League. We know about the Anti-Defamation League and how politicized they are. It's actually run by a former Obama White House staffer. He decided to take over after the Obama administration and turn it from a group that just defends anti-Semitism or defends against anti-Semitism to a organization that basically attacks anything conservative or Republican or right-wing. So, of course, 8 years ago, let's see who was running for president, who had just become president. That would be Donald Trump. So the ADL comes up and says, oh, we got a rise of white nationalism. So you see how this sort of circle jerk works, right? These NGOs and nonprofit groups like Anti-Defamation League, who also get government funding, by the way, used to be a great group when it was run by Abe Hoffman. Now it's a political weapon. It's like the Southern Poverty Law Center. They get money and they push out reports that then people like Ilhan Omar can use to attack you for being a proud American. In this nearly 8-year-old clip, I'm referring to the rise of white nationalism in an annual report issued by the Anti-Defamation League that said white supremacists were responsible for 78% of extremist-related murders. By the way, real fast, Anti-Defamation League, you might, Ilhan Omar, want to look at some other reports that the ADL has put out and bring them to the attention of some of your colleagues like Rashida Tlaib, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, your pals who love Hamas and the Palestinians. I mean, let's not pick and choose and just cherry pick the reports that we like from ADL, Ilhan, because we got some other reports that you and your squad friends might not like that much. White supremacists were responsible for 78% of extremist-related murders. Nobody believes that stat. P.S. When you look up what genocidal actually means, when you're actively supporting a genocide taking place in Gaza. Oh, there it goes. There it goes. Always wanting to support Hamas. All right. So Ilhan Omar says that it's an 8-year-old clip. And if you really looked at the full context, you would understand just what a brainiac, sensitive woman she is. Well, guess what? We've got more context. Yeah, that's right. We found much bigger version of the clip. And Larry, there you go. Al Jazeera. So here's an American politician with her full turban, going on foreign funded media, funded by huge oil barons who have connections to terrorist groups, to talk about how trashy, unsafe, and horrible it is to be in America.
A lot of conservatives in particular would say that the rise in Islamophobia is a result not of hate, but of fear, a legitimate fear, they say, of quote-unquote jihadist terrorism, whether it's Fort Hood or San Bernardino or the recent truck attack in New York. What do you say to them?
I would say our country should be more fearful of white men across our country, because they are actually causing most of the deaths within this country. And so if fear was the driving force of policies to keep America safe, Americans safe inside of this country, we should be profiling, monitoring, and creating policies to fight the radicalization of white men.
There you go. See, now you have the context. We just needed the context, everybody. You got to hear the question she's asked.
A lot of conservatives in particular would say that the rise in Islamophobia is a result not of hate, but of fear, a legitimate fear, they say, of quote-unquote jihadist terrorism, whether it's Fort Hood or San Bernardino or the recent truck attack in New York.
I do love this, quote-unquote jihadist terror. And then he cites 3 recent attacks, but, you know, he left out a whole lot more. You know, maybe it starts with the 3,000 murdered on September 11th, the attack and destruction of the World Trade Center, the billions of dollars of destruction, and the attack on our Pentagon. Maybe that may be part of it too. Maybe the fact that we have to stand in line for an hour and a half taking off our shoes before we go on a plane. This quote-unquote supposed, we think it's an imaginary thing, jihadist terror that might not happen. That context makes it all worthwhile, doesn't it? Now we understand what she meant. It's totally reasonable what she had to say. The real fear in America is white people. It's totally safer where you're sitting right now in the Middle East. Should totally safer to walk down the streets of Tehran right now. I mean, God forbid Ilhan Omar walk down the streets of Tehran and have one little lock of her hair be visible, because then she'll be beaten to a pulp. But it's totally safer because there's no white men there, you see. So it's a whole lot safer. God knows it's a lot safer in Somalia, where Ilhan Omar came from. Why did she come here again, by the way? Was it just on a student visa? She wanted to get higher education, although one would expect her to go to one of the great universities in Somalia. I don't think they have any universities in Somalia. Why did she come here? Oh, she came here because her country is torn up in a civil war and has been for decades. And it's not because of white people, I assure you. She came here to save her life. She came here as a refugee. She came here because our nation opened up its generous arms to allow her safe haven from the, yes, genocidal civil war in her own home country, where white men had literally absolutely nothing to do with it, I promise you. But it's good that she knows now where the real threat is. Maybe it's time she'd go back where she came from. Am I allowed to say that? I mean, again, I'm not saying it because I'm racist. I'm not saying it because I'm xenophobic or because I'm anti-Islamic or anything like that. This is just a truly rational observation. I'm not one of those, oh, you go back where you came from if you don't like here. No, no, no. It has nothing to do with that. I promise you. This is the logical conclusion to what Ilhan Omar says right now about her fear in this country. Once again,
what do you say to them?
I would say our country should be more fearful of white men across our country, because
you see, this is nothing that she would need to fear in Somalia. So it just seems, again, not in any sort of racist way, ma'am. If it is legit to be fearful of white men in America, then clearly you would feel safer in Somalia, protected from all of us. I assure you that if I asked for super chats right now to raise money for your airfare on a one-way ticket on Somalia Airlines, we'd be able to raise that money. Not that I'm asking for that, but I assure you we would. But listen, Ilhan Omar is very afraid of white men. That's why we are really, really worried about her current situation. You see, we had some crack photographers and photojournalists at Town Hall Media sort of doing some research and tracking her. And apparently this guy's been stalking her. I mean, he goes wherever she goes. He even like sneaks into the car with them when they're driving around and sneaks into her apartment in Washington, D.C. and her home back in her district in Minneapolis. And we know that she should be afraid of him because he represents the greatest danger here in America. He's a white dude. And I'm sorry, what now? Oh, that's impossible. What? All right. Well, I'm told that this is her husband. Maybe he's white Hispanic or something like that. Isn't that a thing now? All right. So let me just be clear here. If you're fearful of any race in this country, it should be white men because they're responsible for all of the racist hate and violence. And she then went ahead and married one of them, one of us. Well, that's weird. Oh, now I know why she's not going back to Somalia. Ain't no way hubby's going back there. Hey, honey, I think I feel safer back in Somalia. Come on, I want to go home now. Home? Ooh. We got to talk, Ilhan. I ain't going to be safe there. That's what, and by the way, isn't it funny that she chooses to marry a white man, but not just any white man, the whitest man in America. Look at that guy. Polo shirt, untucked. It's impressive. Ilhan Omar has a lot to say about making sure her home district is protected and safe and well-funded and that the people have the schools and all of the infrastructure that they need. That's why she keeps getting reelected there in Tim Walz's Minnesota, because she is so good at making sure that the people in her district are taken care of.
No, in jidadkeennii aan wada dhisano. Anigu waan ahay gabar Mareykanka laga doortay oo Congresska Mareykanka ku jirto. Laakiin waxaan ahay gabar Soomaaliyeed, gabar idinku jinsi ah, gabar idinku af ah, gabar idinku diin ah, oo hadde qof iyadoo da'yar waddankeedii laga kaxeeyo wili xiise u qabto in maalin waddankeedii ay ku noolaato oo dadkeedii wax ay la wadaagto. Marka alxamdulillah waxaan rajaynayaa aniga iyo ilmahayga in aan hadde ku barbaariyo iyagana ilmahooda ay ku barbaariyaan dhulkii aniga aan ku soo koray. Taasna haddii ay suurtagelayso waa hadda shaqo badan inaan wada qabanaa hadduu Ilaahay yiraahdo oo aan ka dhignaa dhulkeena dhul barwaaqadiisa dadka oo dhan ay dareemi karaan oo ay arki karaan oo ay ka wada faa'iideysan karaan.
So I have a dream of raising my children in my home country as Somalia, but there ain't no way I'm coming back here until you people get your shit together. All right? And so then she spends the rest of the speech talking about how interested she is in building up the infrastructure and fixing the problems in Somalia so that she can then move back. Because otherwise, ain't no way she's leaving the twin cities of Minneapolis, St. Paul. Because, hey, we got clean running water here. And she keeps getting reelected. I mean, seriously, Minnesota. What the hell? It is weird to see a U.S. congressperson saying, by the way, did she say she was taken from Somalia? Taken from Somalia?
Laakiin waxaan ahay gabar Soomaaliyeed, gabar idinku jinsi ah, gabar idinku af ah, gabar idinku diin ah, oo hadde qof iyadoo da'yar.
I sure hope that's just a bad translation. But these guys are actually pretty good at giving you a good translation. She was taken. No. She fled that country. She was driven out of that country by violence and war and corruption. You know, Somalia. There's something very jarring to see a U.S. congressperson, a U.S. citizen, a refugee from another nation, wearing the traditional clothing of that foreign country, speaking the language of that foreign country, addressing the people of that foreign country, talking about how she dreams to return and raise her children in that country, and then ensuring that she's going to do whatever she can to make sure that life is better in that country so that she can return to it. When, I mean, color me crazy, I thought that her job was to actually do all of those things for her district. with our tax dollars here in America, in Minnesota. Which brings us back to J.D. Vance's original observation. It isn't just sick. It's genocidal language. What a disgrace this person is. Yeah, that pretty much covers it.